Good afternoon, guys. How are you all doing today? Today's anime review is going to be Freedom. Freedom is an OVA series, a 7-episode OVA series. Well, technically 6 episodes and a 5-minute prologue. Animated by Sunrise. As you know, Sunrise are just the progenitors of mech animation. And this is more of a realistic take on a sci-fi. I wouldn't say much mech in it, but there are mech elements to it. Freedom, or the Freedom Project, is essentially a 7-episode advert for Nissin Cup Noodles. It's a noodle brand in Japan, which at the time that this was released in 2006, were celebrating their 35th anniversary. So as you can expect from a 7-episode advert, there's going to be a lot of product placement in this. And there is, but it doesn't detract away from the anime itself. The anime is actually really, really good. This is having watched this and reviewing it now, this is actually the second time I've tried to watch it. As the first time I tried to watch it, I thought my discs were defective, as the prologue, 5-minute prologue, isn't dubbed in English. And if you know me already, if you've seen my reviews, you'll know that primarily my default setting, I guess you could say, for watching anime is in English dub. So I'll always opt out for the English dub because I like to appreciate the art and animation. But even having said that, the first 5 minutes of the audio track are in Japanese, and then it switches over into the English dub automatically. So I don't know if that was an oversight on the English dub, the English studio or whatever. But it wasn't a massive deal. It was only 5 minutes. And it didn't really take away from my enjoyment of the anime. It was only a 5-minute prologue. So anyway, it's set in the future, as most sci-fi stories are. If you can have I don't know if you can see it from here, but if you're familiar with the characters designs, that's because they're done by Katsuhiro Otomo, the renowned author of Akira. And as well as like lots of other things like Memories and Steam Boy, Doma, A Child's Dream, things like that. He's wildly known. Wildly known? I don't think that's a word, but he's very well renowned as a cyberpunk creator, and all of his signature character designs and mech designs are in this. It basically centres around a colony living on the moon in a dome-shaped city called Eden, which is on the far side of the moon. And this colony, it's not necessarily a democracy, but it's also not under like a totalitarian government. So there is elements of freedom, but there's lots of censorship in the media, in like schools, in the education system, things like that. There are certain things that you're not allowed to learn, namely human history and anything to do with the Earth, because the reason why this colony is on the moon is because like 160 years or so prior to this series setting, Earth had a big shift in climate change, which made the environment uninhabitable, and pretty much everybody on Earth perished. And at the time there was a project where the moon was being used as a stepping stone to get closer to Mars, to terraform it and make Mars a new human colony. But obviously that project was put on hold when the Earth perished, and the colony that was working on the Mars project on the moon just decided to stay there and establish Eden as the primary human colony. And all the citizens believe that the Earth is still uninhabitable. I suppose I should tell you about the characters. It centers around 3 characters. We have got Taku in the front here, and his 2 friends, Kazuma and Bismarck. These are just a bunch of 15-year-old guys. They finished their compulsory education, and they're in a bit of they're in like a gang. They ride these like tricycle mech sort of things in like illegal street races. So you can kind of say that they're in like a little bit of a biker gang, but not on the level, say that like Canada and like Tetsuo are in Akira. They don't involve themselves in like vandalism or like petty thievery or anything like that, or drugs. It's not that kind of anime. It's of a lower demographic, so there's no like swearing or like excessive violence in it or anything like that. They're just like having street races, but are, to all intents and purposes, well-mannered guys. So yeah, one unfortunate event where they're having a street race, Takeru's tricycle vehicle malfunctions and it ends up setting on fire in like a public place, and he ends up being apprehended by the police. His punishment is essentially community service outside of the dome on the moon's surface, like just like doing like standard repairs and like, you know, picking up rubbish and things like that. And him and his friends have come across an unusual spot of what appears to be rubbish. But upon closer inspection, they actually appear to be things sent from Earth. So we've got remnants and pieces of shrapnel and debris of what looks like a small tubular like rocket ship. And surrounding that are like things that are clearly sent from Earth, like we've got seashells, photographs, letters, things like that. And it's basically somebody on Earth is trying to contact the colony on the moon, and this is puzzling to obviously the main characters, as they've grown up and been led to believe that the Earth is uninhabitable and just a barren red planet, similar to what Mars is. So, so after some poking around, they managed to come across another colony that is outside of the jurisdiction of Eden. And through the friends that they make there, they acquire a rocket ship to be able to go to Earth. After having actually found out that the Earth is actually blue and sustainable, it's a clear indications of life there, and having seen the Earth as the drive further out across the moon's surface, to a point where they can actually see the Earth over the horizon of the moon, which obviously the people of the colony can't see because they're on the far side of the moon. So they end up heading to Earth because one of the photographs that they found from this rubbish that they find that they come across is a photograph of a girl, and the girl in the photo really picks Takeru's interest. She's just, oh my god, this girl's so hot, and the letters and the seashells are clearly from her. So they go to Earth looking for this girl. Now, obviously, Earth is a big planet. You can't really deduce just from a few bits of, you know, a few letters where on Earth she might possibly be, but the photograph itself gives a clear indication as to whereabouts she might be. The few clues, they kind of deduce that she's in like a NASA rocket launch pad in Florida. So they head there, but they actually they misjudged their landing and end up landing in Las Vegas, so they have to do a road trip from Las Vegas to Florida. So yeah, a little bit of time goes by. They end up meeting up with this girl, find out her name is Ao. She ends up having a really interesting backstory, which is quite refreshing given that the kind of the three main characters that we follow are quite wafer thin and they don't really offer that much in regards to character development or depth. And Takeru, I've heard this being mentioned in a review before, I think it was by Mortalium, that he's basically just a copy and paste of Kaneda from Akira in his mannerisms and his behaviour, and even how he looks very much like Kaneda, and he's around the same age as well. So he's not a massively interesting character, but out of the characters that we do follow, including her, is the most interesting because we get the more backstory from her, and given that she's one of the denizens of Earth, and she's been trying to contact the moon colony, which is completely disassociated itself with Earth. That just makes the character much more interesting. All in all, though, the anime was really enjoyable. I was quite skeptical going into it at first, given that it's actually all CGI, it's all cel-shaded anime, and I much prefer traditional hand-drawn cel animation. So I wasn't that happy about going into this show, and I went in with relatively low expectations. But it actually holds up pretty well, given that it is actually 10 years old now. The animation, given that it's CGI, it's cel-shaded, and it's from 2006. I was actually really impressed, especially with the opening and closing visuals, and the music as well was really good and fresh and upbeat and quite modern. When I say modern, I mean it feels like this anime was probably animated last year. That's how well it holds up to today. I mean, I know obviously 10 years is a really long time in regards to animation quality and standards and things like that, but it does really feel fresh. And I mean, that's probably because I watched it in Blu-ray as well. But even then, it's a really good anime. It's not that big of a commitment as well, taking into account it's only It's only 6 episodes technically long. So I would highly recommend watching this. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The story was interesting, the characters were likable, albeit, you know, not very deep. The mechanical designs of the suits that they wear and you know, the vehicles that they ride around in just really kind of brought me back to that cyberpunk feeling. Even though it's not a cyberpunk show itself, it's more like a realistic setting, sci-fi. You know, there were still a few nice nods and throwbacks to Otomo's cyberpunk roots, which I really appreciated. The dub was okay. I might, when I rewatch this, I might watch it in Japanese. But yeah, an enjoyable show, and one that I do recommend. So if you're interested in buying it, it's available from Manga Entertainment in the UK, and I think Bandai Entertainment in the US. I don't know if that's still functioning. So it might be available to stream legally on Crunchyroll or something. I'm not exactly too sure, but if you can find it at a reasonable price, I definitely recommend it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching.